Gracie Jiu-Jitsu rocks. Welcome to the Gracie Jiu-Jitsu Rocks podcast, a podcast dedicated to Gracie Jiu-Jitsu and all things Gracie, including self-defense, competition, anti-bullying, women's self-defense and empowerment, nutrition, and most especially, the people involved in Gracie Jiu-Jitsu. This podcast is for the average Joe. It's for anyone who practices, trains, teaches, or just loves to talk about or hear about Gracie Jiu-Jitsu. We'll explore the lives of Gracie Jiu-Jitsu practitioners, how they got involved in the art, and what effect it's had on their lives. So buckle up and enjoy the ride. Welcome to episode 138 of the Gracie Jiu-Jitsu Rocks podcast. As always, I'm your host, Marty Josie, and thanks for listening. Today we'll be speaking with Sensei Erik Paulson, and for those of you that are long-term listeners, you may recall that I had Sensei Erik on the show way back in episode 38 in February 2015. And in that interview, we got extensively into his background of being the first world shoot fight champion, and to his martial arts background and journey through the years. And on this episode, we discuss how he's stayed productive this past year, being ready when the creative juices come, how he wrote a whole DVD project on a napkin while on an airplane, changes he's made in the association and programs recently, not living in fear, combining catch wrestling in his jiu-jitsu program, how he developed his scarf game, including the Fat Man choke, his intensive private sessions, his new business coaching model for school owners, working with Sensei Uri Nackamura, Shooto and Pankration, combat submission wrestling, and his current projects, and how his breakfall ability saved him during a bike accident, as well as his combat athletic conditioning program, and much more. So I know you're going to enjoy this interview. He's a very interesting person. After the interview, make sure you stay tuned for the Make a Difference, Make an Impact segment. And now, without further ado, let's talk to Sensei Erik. All right, I'm speaking with Sensei Erik Paulson. So welcome to the show, Erik.
Hi, guys. Happy New Year. Happy New Year to all you guys.
Happy New Year indeed. And thanks for taking time out of your busy schedule to talk with us today. I appreciate it.
I'm glad I've been, they said that we're back on the lockdown for a while, so I don't know what's going to happen with that. But, you know, the biggest thing with that is that you get your own workout in.
It's true.
You know, focus on your business, but more so spend your time with your family, connect to God or meditate, you know, ground yourself, align yourself, you know, get in touch with nature a little bit.
See the opportunity, right?
Yeah, just get out in nature as much as you can, get your feet in the grass, ground yourself. If you meditate, try to meditate, that helps a lot.
Yeah, and let's get into that a little bit, a little further into the show. I want to hear about your meditation, but I should actually say welcome back to the show because I had you on the show for episode 38 back in February of 2015, so almost 6 years ago.
Wow.
And in that interview, we discussed things like your background, including being the first American World Shoot Fight Champion, your extensive background in catch wrestling, jiu-jitsu, JKD, and other arts, as well as how you got started, or how you started your art of combat submission wrestling, which you teach throughout the world via seminars and online instruction. We also got into your MMA coaching, some of the fighters you had coached. And on this one, we're going to focus a little more on your association and all the great changes you've made in the last few years, as well as your plans for the future. So, Erik, to start us off, How are you doing, first of all, and what has this crazy past year been like for you personally?
It actually hasn't been bad at all. I've used I've used this lockdown as, a time to, first of all, relax and get back to resting my body and healing. And that's really important because I was on the road so much. I literally was on the road every weekend, and I would teach during the week, so I had a completely busy schedule. And this time I've been writing, I've been organizing. I went through my garage and I've been organizing. I found all my old notes and things. So I've been organizing that and creating projects, working on the association, creating new projects, books, DVDs, working on content for our association, training camps, things that can help people grow and expand their knowledge base and help them if they're going to compete, run a fight team,
Wow, lots of stuff.
jiu-jitsu team or grappling team. We have a lot of people that are going stir crazy. So there are little events that are popping up here and there that I said, if you guys can compete and it's safe, try to get competition in where and whenever you can, because you want to stay active.
Definitely. Yeah,
And that's a big deal.
yeah. And you mentioned kind of going back through some of your old stuff. I saw some of the pictures you had put on Facebook. Some really interesting old pictures. You know,
That's another thing. That's going through old pictures. I mean, I have so much stuff, and I filmed a ton of content with some of my guys to help them come up and give them exposure on a social media platform. When you get older, people don't want to see you do stuff anymore. They like to see the young guys. So it's the same with fight. It's same with fighting. Like someone said, well, how why are you coaching? Why don't you fight? I'm like, nobody wants to see a 50-year-old guy fight. People want to watch the young guys do it. And so I said, you're right. You are right. So, it's like Prince. When Prince was out in his heyday, he was out and doing concerts and movies and all that stuff. But so much background stuff that he did was writing and creating projects for all these other artists. And so I thought, what a great thing or a great avenue for me, because later on, especially as a coach, it's not about you anymore.
mm,
And you could be selfish when you're a competitor, and when you're a fighter, you could be selfish because you have to be successful. But man, when you become a coach, it turns the table and it's completely opposite.
it
You know,
is.
same thing if you're a parent. It's no longer about you, it's about your kids.
It's so true. It's life changing, and it changes your priorities for sure, and what's important. I like how you have taken this time. You know that so many people have struggled for this last year, or going on a year. You know, it's been devastating for a lot of people. I like your attitude. I personally have tried to make the best of it and been productive in a lot of ways, but it sounds like you've really taken that to a high level and see it as an opportunity and a time to reset, to almost like, meditation does that for you, but on a larger scale. The whole year you've seen it as time to reset, look at your priorities, kind of get away from the grind, that the inertia of the grind, and then start some new exciting things, it sounds like.
And organized. Like I have so many notes and booklets that I've created throughout the years. And I just used to write. I would come home when I was a bartender and I would fight and I would travel. I would write every single time I get on an airplane. I would open up a notebook and just start writing. I wasn't big on typing. I love, there's, for some reason, it seemed like information would flow through me a lot better when I had a pen in my hand and a piece of paper. And so I have projects that I've written and done that actually are written out on a napkin. And I think I might have posted something, but I mean, I wrote out an entire 5 DVD project on a napkin on an airplane. They go, okay, bring your seat backs forward. But they said, seat back forward. And I go, is it back or forward? Which way? Do you put it back or you put it forward? And the lady goes, listen, put your seat back forward. I go, which one is it? And she's like, all right, smarty pants. And I go, give me a napkin. So I didn't say that to her like that, but I thought to myself, get a napkin and get a pen because you're getting flooded with information right now. And it was funny because I was sitting next to Guru Dan in Asanto and I was assisting him on a seminar. And I got this idea and I just went, watch this. And all of a sudden I just went, brrr, and
Nice.
it was literally, it was 15 minutes before we hit the ground. And I wrote out an entire, like a treatment for a movie.
Wow.
That was one time. I wrote a treatment for a movie. And then I also wrote out an entire boxing curriculum for one of my friends, a 3-fight thing, or sorry, a 3 DVD set for boxing. It was all on all the different things that this guy should have, and it was an outline for wall charts, which he did, and then DVDs, and then possibly some other things that he was supposed to create, plus a T-shirt design and everything.
Wow. It's amazing. It's great that you listen to that, and when that creative spirit, those creative juices get released, you go with it. There's so many people I've talked to that said, if I would have written down every great idea I had, when it came to me, instead of saying I'll do it later and then it was gone. Man, there's been so many people. So I love how you just kind of go with it and really focus and let that creativity come through.
I have to say, so I used to have a miniature tape recorder sitting next to my bed because in the middle of 3 in the morning, I'd be asleep and I wake up with all these great ideas. And same thing. But I would record them or I'd write them down. Or I'd have a dream and I had some really cool things come through in the dream and I would just wake up and write it down and go back to sleep. But it's one thing to write it down, it's another to act upon it. So you can't write it and then expect that you're, 2-3 years later, you're going to act upon it. You need to act upon it immediately. As soon as you can think it, you've got to do it. Otherwise, it doesn't get done. So right now, apparently, we are in Mars retrograde. Is it this whole year or this whole month? I just read it yesterday. And it said there's no time to procrastinate. Everything's going to come to fruition right now. The energies of Earth it's because we are in Mars retrograde and procrastination disappears. So everything is immediate.
Awesome.
So what I think is called speed of thought, as fast as you can think it, you should be able to do it. So you should be able to act upon your thoughts, and your thoughts manifest immediately. And that's what's going on right now with the new energies and things coming to Earth. It's turning into 5G, not 5G, it's fifth dimensional Earth.
Exciting
and
times.
Humans are going to be transitioning. That's why they say there's going to be UFO disclosure, and there's supposed to be stuff like that going on right now. Listen, it all remains to be seen. So I'm not going to sit and preach about UFOs coming, but there have been tons of things appearing and happening all over the place. It just happened in Hawaii too. A big one appeared in Hawaii. But they said they're going to start appearing more because humanity is moving into the fifth dimension. That's why.
Interesting. Very interesting.
Humans are multidimensional beings.
Right.
And if you don't believe that, meditate. And if you don't believe it, then take mushrooms or smoke DMT or whatever, so you understand that we're more than what we think we are, than what we see. We are much, much more than that.
We certainly are.
I'm not promoting taking mushrooms or smoking DMT, by the way. But
nice disclaimer.
I talk to people that have done it, and I just want to hear their stories. And I want to hear, like, what did you learn? Like, would you take it to get messed up? They go, no, to expand my mind. I go, well, then what did you learn? What was the takeaway from doing that?
Yeah. For some, Sorry. For some people can do it through meditation. Some require more enhancement to kind of open those doors of perception, so to speak.
But in order to get into the Akashic records, you have to be sober. You can't get to your Akashic records with a mind altering drug like peyote or ayahuasca or DMT.
Very interesting stuff, Eric, for sure. Let's
Let's go
change gears. Go over.
let's go back to reality.
No, I'm digging it. Let me tell you. So you've made a lot of or some changes in your association programs over the past few years. So let's talk about some of those now. So, what changes have you made, and what does that look like?
Changes I have made into our association is we've added the jiu-jitsu program has really taken off because I have a lot of people that have trained with me for years and that have fought and competed also. And they're owning schools, and we have 4 working on 5 to 6 programs right now. So one of the programs is the no-gi. It's no-gi grappling, and we have levels 1 to 10. Then we have the STX, which is right now we're working on the actual different coach levels, and there's so much information in the STX kickboxing because it's a compilation of about 5 or 6 different striking arts. So there's just so much information in there to create an instructor. We're working on that, tightening that up. The next is the MMA. And we're still in the process of creating each level and recording all the information for each aspect. We wrote it out already, but it's just a matter of filming. This last year threw a damper into everything. We had to cancel. I haven't traveled since March, and I was traveling every weekend, and everything got canceled. I had stuff. People were hoping that I could, get out to their place, but then we're finding out to go to Florida, I would have had to been quarantined off an airplane for 14 days. Like, I don't have 14 extra days
for real.
Sit in a hotel room.
Seriously. Let's get back to your jiu-jitsu program. I'm very interested in that because I know you've had some of the other programs a while, but this one is somewhat new. Tell us more about that, how that came to be, and what you feel makes that one so special.
Well, we do a lot of grip fighting. So we work a lot of throws and takedowns. And there's such a combination of different people that are involved because there's so many black belts that have been around, that have been involved. I've been involved with for so many years that they all have little bits and pieces that they share, which is which makes everything grow. And the other aspect is that we use the catch wrestling with the jiu-jitsu also. And, I know a lot of the Brazilian style jiu-jitsu, I'm talking more like the Brazilians, they work a lot more off their back. And this is me talking to Master Higgin, and he was saying that the Americans are more top game guys, that they don't work their guard as much, that it's more of a top game attacking system. And it's funny because in the old days, I kind of figured it out that, no matter if you got a good guard or not, and someone's punching your face in, and you're fighting and you're on your back, even if everything's neutralized, you still feel like you're losing when someone's on top of you.
Right.
Even if it's side control, let's say they're not even mounted, they're just in side control, or they're laying in your guard and trying to pound your face. So you're kind of surviving a lot more in a guard than you would be on top. So one of the biggest things was in the guard is to get your reversal, to get back to your knees, get back to your feet, try to sweep them. A sweep is is much as you can, try to get a reversal or a sweep. And if you can't, get back to your knees and then fight and then work your wrestling for your takedown and to go on top and then to have strong pressure and passing.
Nice.
And also multitudes of attacks, not just, you got to figure. It's funny because I said a lot of guys that will get their black belts in jiu-jitsu will start to want to learn a little bit of catch wrestling. And someone said, well, why is that? And I said, because catch wrestling has attacks that jiu-jitsu doesn't, that they haven't, a lot of people haven't been exposed to. Because in jiu-jitsu, everyone knows, like I remember when I first started jiu-jitsu in the 80s, it was pretty easy to attack and catch triangles and arm bars in the guard. Now, triangles and arm bars in the guard, or kimuras in the guard, are really hard to catch.
Right.
Unless you're an expert. So the omoplata became kind of the new thing to catch in the guard and use it as a sweep to go on top. I think against a good person, it's really hard to finish an omoplata on somebody, unless again you're an expert at it. So the omoplata was used kind of more as a sweep than it was as a submission, and so the attacks have changed. People are more keen to all the different attacks in the guard now, and now they're learning how to pass. And it's funny because people figured it out. Eddie Bravo really helped with the ZBI to really expose how vulnerable everyone is for the leg attacks. I already knew that because I fought in Japan, and all the Japanese fighters were experts at going for legs.
Yes, you've been doing that a long time, right?
Somebody said, you're a really good leg locker. And I go, no, I'm a really good leg lock defender. And they said, what? And I go, the only reason I learned leg locks originally was to learn how to defend against them. And they go, what do you mean? I said, because every guy I fought was a leg lock expert. And my whole goal is not to get caught or submitted with leg locks. And so in order for you to learn how to defend leg locks, you have to learn the attacks.
Absolutely.
So we learned all the different attacks for all the different entries. There were like 7 different entries to the heel hook, and knee bars, toe holds. Heel hooks, knee bars, and toe holds were the big ones. The Achilles lock was always taught, but those are good for street fights, but they don't work quite so well in a real match unless you're really good at the Achilles lock. In a real fight, a lot of people, they'll take the pain because most of the time, it's not going to break your ankle. So they'll take the pain and they won't tap because they have their reputation, they have money, they're on TV. So they're like, I'm not tapping to an Achilles lock. That's not going to break my ankle. Right. And I said, you're right. That's why I'm going to heel hook you. I'm going to knee bar you, or I'm going to toe hold you. Because those all 3 will break something.
Yeah, and they can't dispute it if it's broken, right? You know what? I like how you said you integrate your catch with the jiu-jitsu. I think that's fairly unique. I'm sure there's people that do it besides you, but I like that approach and that openness to do that because, for a lot of people in a lot of circuits, there's catch over here and there's jiu-jitsu and there's even a rift sometimes between the two about what's better and all this. So it's great that you're braving that divide, but you're also utilizing the strengths of both. I think having a jiu-jitsu that has catch in it would be amazing. Even taking something like the scarf, which I love your stuff on scarf. Most of the time for most jiu-jitsu people out there, they don't favor that. Because they think they can get their back taken or whatever reason. But
they say it's dangerous.
Yeah, but I love it. So I think that approach is awesome.
It's dangerous if you're not good at it. Mm. And so to not address that. So you got to figure so here I'm training in the early mid 80s. And everyone back then did head and arm Hon Keisagatami. Everyone learned it because everyone wrestled or did judo. And sometimes, so that was a very common position, was this, they called side straddle, side headlock, the head and arm, Keisagatami. So the scarf hold with the head and arm was just, it was normal. And so later on, guys are like, oh no, we only go under the far arm. That's the only Keisa that's not dangerous. And so I got to train with some of the top guys in wrestling and in judo and in sambo, and Keisagatami was their specialty, and in Shooto, and they had all these different attacks. And the thing is I had to extract as time went on. I learned all these cool attacks, but as time progressed, you have all this plethora of information, but you're going to kind of gravitate to something that like is high percentage, that works all the time, almost all the time. So that would be the Fat Man choke. The Fat Man choke was something that I got when I watched Mark Coleman fight. He fought Dan Severn.
Yeah, I remember that.
And he hit the head and arm. When Dan Severn was tired, he hit a head and arm, and then he cinched and he sat out, and he pulled the head into the center of his body, and he got his hips off the ground. He just held them, and Dan Severn tapped out. And I was like, what the heck was that? And I watched it, and I go, I know that's a pin in wrestling. And I go, is that a neck crank or a choke? And then I found out later, because I played with it, I got really good at it, and I watched it over and over and over and over. And I said, you know what? That's a chest asphyxiation. It is a choke. It is not a neck crank. Although it does stretch your spine and your neck, but it's not, people don't tap from that. They don't go, oh, my neck. They say, I can't breathe.
If you can't breathe, you can't fight, right?
When you do it right, you have to cinch it, just like the Arnold Schwarzenegger side pose. And then you've got to sit out. You've got to walk to their head, and then you've got to sit out to your butt. Get your butt off the floor, and you rest all your weight with your back on their body, and their head is on your stomach, and you're twisting and squeezing, and your butt is off the floor, and you're on both feet. That is the Fat Man choke.
Very effective.
So that's a high percentage move. And so I taught Rico Rodriguez that years and years ago, and when he went into jiu-jitsu tournaments as a white belt, the blue belt, I would corner him, and I would say, I would yell, I would go, Mark Coleman, which later on became the Coleman. And then people are like, oh, that's the head and arm, right? And I was like, oh, crap. And later on, I'm like, Fat Man. And everyone's like, what's that? And I was like, that's the Coleman choke. The Mark Coleman choke, it's called the Fat Man. Nice. And so then people started getting keen to the Fat Man. They go, oh, he's going to do the Fat Man choke. So then I go, 270. So I changed it to 270.
That's hilarious.
So now the code, when my guys get to a side control and the match has been going for a while, I go 270. That means switch to the head and arm and the Fat Man choke.
Sweet. That's what Josh used?
That was the plan. We wait till Dean got completely tired, and then Josh hit the Fat Man when there's no odds of him getting out. You hit awesome. Last minute, because who can hold their breath for a minute when you're tired?
Seriously. Perfect.
And that was it. And it was funny because Dean after that, he came up and he said, we don't even address that position. I go, you mean Keisagatami? Hon, H-O-H-N, Keisagatami? And he said, yeah, we don't even address that. And I said, well, that's weird, because Rico Rodriguez years ago hit the same move on Dean, and I was working with Rico Rodriguez back then. Because he was training with me at Boxing Works. And I showed him the Fat Man choke, which I called the Coleman, and he used it in every jiu-jitsu tournament. And then later I was working with Josh, and I taught Josh that move. And I said, because Josh would see me use it on everybody all the time, and he's like, that's stupid. Why don't you do something? He goes, why don't you do something else? And I said, why don't I do something else? Because I don't need to. Because I could just get to this on everybody.
Yeah, I love it. If it works, keep it going, right? Why do something else? And
So
I like
some,
how you have it. You're kind of sat out, and you have the scarf, but then the one where you reverse your base, and the let's say if you're out on the one side, and all of a sudden you turn into them, and you post the other leg, and you grab that reverse leg. That man, that's a killer too.
oh yeah, so that one. So I learned that one in like 1990, 91. I use and it's a pin in judo. They use it as a pin.
Great
You
one.
grab, you get the head and arm, and then you hook their back leg, and you put two hands on the inner leg,
Yeah.
and then you lift your hips. So this guy, his name is Omar Buish, and he is a pancrase fighter from Sweden. He's really tough, and he came out to train with me, and I said, "Hey, one thing I would like to work with you on is your Keisagatami attacks. I see you have a great game, but I don't see you do hardly any Keisagatami attacks." He goes, "Yeah, I don't really know much from there." And I said, "Well, let me show you a couple." So I showed him the pillow V arm lock and the straight arm bar, and then we worked a little bit of the fat man. And I said, "Here's the head and arm home kesa," and I go, "And you hook the back leg and you lift your hips and you squeeze and you just stay there, and it's the same thing. It's a chest asphyxiation." And then all of a sudden he goes, "Well, hey, thank you. That was great." He goes, I have to go train with Boss Rutan today." And so he went and trained with Boss, and he showed that move to Boss that day. And I said, "Hey, how's your training?" He goes, "Good. Boss really liked that squeeze from the head and arm and the leg." He goes, "I showed that to him today, and he really liked." He said that would be perfect for him because he's strong, right? And so that became Boss's signature move.
Nice,
Isn't that
nice.
funny?
That's hilarious. It's funny
But
how
I did.
see how
I
things
showed
work like that.
to Omar earlier that day, and then it got to Boss, and Boss used it regularly as his move. He goes, "This is my move," and I was like, "Well, that's cool because I'm sure the head and arm, the Fat Man choke, had been around for so many years or centuries. I just happened to stumble across it because I saw Mark Coleman do it.
Interesting.
But I give credit where credit's due. So that's why I call it the Coleman headlock. The Fat Man's actually the Coleman. And then I don't even know the name of the judo guy that showed me. So it was a judo pin. It was a head and arm with a leg. And then it became Boss's signature move, which is pretty cool. I was happy to see that. That's one thing that's cool is when you're teaching. Are you still there?
I'm here.
Okay, sorry. Uh, One thing that's cool is when you're showing stuff and you're training guys. Like I'll do seminars, and then you'll see guys all over the place using that move and catching people. It becomes their signature move.
That's got to
That's
be gratifying.
that's very gratifying.
Awesome. Awesome. So, in keeping with that, I know you've affected a lot of people's life and impacted a lot of people's lives through your knowledge and insight in teaching, and you've been doing more of your private, intensive private sessions. That's my understanding. So, tell us more about those.
The intensive was something that I started a long time ago. So Paul Vunak, he's under Guru Dan and Asana. Paul Vunak had his intensive training program for guys to certify them in JKD and Kali under his PFS or his RAT system. And I thought about that going, I could do something like that with MMA and no-gi grappling. And so I created something a long time ago. It was an intensive program, and I had 3 levels. I had beginner, intermediate, and advanced. And the whole objective was to get guys to the point where they got so good they could compete. So most of the guys that did the intensive programs are all successful school owners today, and they've had a very successful professional fight career.
Mm.
They've all fought, and now they're professional coaches training all these multitudes of fighters and competitors, and they have their own schools. So it's very, again, gratifying to see how something like that would start with a 10-hour intensive program because, here these guys are coming in remotely from all over the place. So I created the 3 levels. It's the beginning, intermediate, and advanced, and everything is based off your homework. So you have to come and spend 10 hours, and then I just fill you full of information, loads of notes and ideas and training tips, conditioning, different ways that I was conditioning at the time with the lifting and the running and the swimming and the rollerblading and the bike riding and just everything, boxing, kickboxing, wrestling, gi wrestling, with a gi, and also just the jacket wrestling. And then also the ground and pound, the MMA and everything. And then also the Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu with a gi. So they would come out and I said, what do you want to work on? And most of them at the time wanted to do MMA because there was really no MMA instruction out there that, because it was just all new. It was like, oh, you're a kickboxer that learned how to wrestle and learn submission, or you're a jiu-jitsu guy that learned how to do kickboxing, or a wrestler that learned how to strike a little bit and then learn a little bit of grappling. But the whole objective was to see if guys could create a career out of it, either by teaching or coaching. Back then, it was all for competition. So everything I did was to create other competitors and have guys all over the place fight. That's what I was after. And then later, when I got older, it was more about owning a school, running a school and a business, and then coaching people and passing the knowledge on, the information, because that's the big thing. And the thing is, you have to be respectful and honorable to everybody. You can't have an opinion and sit above and try to exalt yourself above others and think that you're better than anybody, because you need to be a sponge. You have to have a white belt mentality to learn from everybody. Everyone's your teacher, and that's kind of the mentality.
Love it. Love the everyone's your teacher mentality for sure. So you currently you do your private sessions, 1-hour sessions that are pretty popular. Tell us more about those in particular.
Well, so a lot of the Shooto lock flows are no longer taught by anybody. They don't really. There's a few people that might, but I was one of the only guys that got through. I took privates with Sensei Uri Nackamura, who is the founder of Shooto in America, and I fought for him professionally. And I got 2 belts from Japan under his tutelage. And what happened is I had people asking me, hey, is there any way that I could train with you to learn some of the Shooto lock flows? And I said, well, I'm not really allowed, unless you're going to go through the whole system, I'm not really allowed to just teach you all the lock flows. And so what happened is Sensei Uri, he had some health issues, and he kind of got stuck in Japan for a while. So everyone was talking about the status of Shooto, and then I just found out that it kind of fizzled in Japan. The association did. And so the fights, I don't even know if there's any more fights anymore, but they were one of the oldest organizations for MMA, and they had the most fights of any organization or league out there. And it started in 1982.
Nice.
Yeah. So they had internal problems. And so a lot of people said Shooto was only a fight league. And I go, it actually was an art. And they go, no, it wasn't. And I said, hold on a second. You guys have no idea, because Sensei Uri Nackamura was at the Inasano Academy teaching, and I have all the tests, I have all the notes with all the information and the certification for each levels with signatures and everything. And I just, after I retired, I was very disheartened because they wouldn't let me promote people. And I said, well, I believed in this fighting system that I've been training, it was early MMA. And I said, how am I training this, teaching this, and fighting in it and being victorious and not able to promote? This is going to fizzle out. It's going to die. And it was so far ahead of its time when it first came out. We were having amateur fights in 1990. 1988 was the first seminar. 1990 was like the 91 was the first amateur. 92, first amateur fights. And we had tons of people from all over fighting. And it was huge. It was amateur MMA.
Nice.
And I was part of the whole. I said there needs to be an amateur fight league in order for people to get good, because if there's an amateur fight league, then guys can get experience before they turn pro. Because here these guys were turning pro out of nowhere and they had no fights before. I go, how are you a pro fighter with 0 fights? And he goes, oh, I've had 52 amateur fights. I go, fights or wrestling matches? And they go, fights. And I go, okay. So I helped with the promotion, and Pankration was created by one of my teammates that was part of the Shooto, which was John Frank. And John Frank was doing a spectacular job with the Pankration. And that's a league that gives all these kids the ability to do MMA without face punching. Right. So it's safe. Yeah, it was great. And so what happened is when Camo was created, they tried to put restrictions. So I helped create it, but I didn't drop the rules. They started putting restrictions on John Frank, and I said, no, in order for all this to flourish and grow, these guys both have to be operative. So Pankration needs to exist for all the kids to be able to compete, because you could start them young, and then the amateur Camo is a prospect that wants to turn pro has got the ability to get 20 fights under his belt.
Yeah, definitely cool. Love Pankration. I've loved it from way back. It's what a cool system that is.
Yeah. So the CSW had the stuff that we did was a mixture of the no-gi grappling. It was all the no-gi grappling from every art, and it was the MMA and the striking. So we had every aspect. You had the striking, the takedowns, and the submission. And the key to our success was the fact that we sparred every single day. From day one, we spar. Someone goes, you get to spar from day one? I go, yeah. What are you supposed to do, drills all the time? I go, the only way to get better is to spar. Just think about that. Even in the Roman days, they took the swords and they fenced all the time with their swords, because that's what battle's going to be, just with more intensity.
Right. And that CSW has become extremely, extremely popular and successful. Something very exciting for those listening that I'd like to talk about now is a giveaway that Coach Erik has been gracious enough to offer a free half-hour private session to a lucky listener. So we'll be doing that giveaway in the near future, so be on the lookout for that, and stay tuned. Coach Erik, go ahead.
Half hour turns into an hour easily.
And I should say that's Zoom. It's going to be done by Zoom. But you also have gotten into offering business training through your association or your organization. Tell us a little bit about that.
The reason we did that is because we're finding that we have so many people that need advice, that own schools. The second you decide to open a school, you are no longer considered just a martial artist. You're a businessman or a business person, a businesswoman, a businessman. You're a business person. So in order to be successful at business, you have to focus on the business aspect of running your business. So Don Guerin, who is one of my old friends and managers, he was a very successful martial arts school owner, originally karate, and then he was under Guru Dan, so he taught Thai boxing and Silat and Kali and Junfan JKD, along with the boxing and kickboxing and karate. And he was super duper successful, and he was a part of all the different NAFTA and what is it? The funding what was it? EFC or anyways, he was part of all these different funding, these places that would help do billing and running your schools. So he had all these great ideas. So he created a curriculum, but he got busy, and a lot of people weren't taking advantage of it. And Sifu Alan Baker, who helps run our association, is is more than willing to sit down and talk to everyone that has any questions that has to do with their business. We also offer for free, when you're a CSW, an affiliate, you we have 4 camps a year that are free, 4 camps.
Wow,
And
that's huge.
during those camps, it's not just curriculum and testing, because we run through curriculum and testing, but also how to teach, how to explain, how to teach, how to share ideas on what to be concerned about. It's questions, answers, a lot of roll time, camaraderie, laughing, joking, sweating. And then we've added the business aspect where guys get to sit down with a pen and paper and write down or ask any questions that they need to know with Alan or Don Guerin. And that is extremely important, because the only way to stay successful is you have to address everything as a business owner.
I couldn't agree more. I think that's so needed and so vital, and it's awesome that you guys are providing that, because just like if you're a great fighter doesn't necessarily mean you're a great teacher or will be, unless you learn how to do that well. The same can be said with running a business. You could be great at the arts, but that's a whole separate art to run a business. So, like you said, you cease being just a martial artist when you open a school. You've got to get the business information and mechanics down. So, hats off to you guys for providing that. Much needed.
Thank you. Well, the marketing is a huge aspect, and the other thing is we're not. It's not coming from one source. It's coming from multitudes of sources. So, and it's also based on success rates and failures, and that's a big fact that will help a lot of people, is that you're dealing with people that are coming in that have extensive business knowledge. They all are school owners, and they say, this, where we are, this doesn't work. This works for us. This doesn't work for us. And we can kind of go through and talk to everybody to see what will or will not work. Like I said, in colder places, the gi programs tend to be a lot more famous than the no gi programs. And one thing that I said is, when I retired from fighting, I'm putting my gi back on, because I loved judo and jiu-jitsu so much that I knew that once I was done fighting, I would go back to judo and jiu-jitsu and teaching with the gi and without the gi. I think it's just fun. It's intriguing, and it's different when you roll without a gi. It's completely different than when you roll with a gi.
Definitely.
But you need to have an answer for both.
Yes.
And I think without a gi you have more wrestling. There's more wrestling involved, but there's no reason that you wouldn't use wrestling with a gi also. Some people they segregate the two. They put one as, oh, since it's jiu-jitsu, we're naturally just going to jump guard or pull guard or flop on our back. It's like, well, why wouldn't you fight for the takedown? And why wouldn't you fight to get on top and go and pass the guard and, right?
Absolutely. It's funny how people like to kind of divide themselves, or say this approach, you should do this approach, or we're different than doing that approach. Instead of just embracing all things that are possible, why not play with it all, learn it all, and then whatever suits you the best to use it,
I think because people copy people.
Yeah.
And so if you come from someone that's Brazilian that just teaches you all your different guard games, that's all you do is just play your guard. And I like Eddie Bravo's idea. He said, put yourself in a bad spot and dig yourself out. Perfect. I like that. But when you're a fighter, because we deal with a lot of guys, we have a fight team, and most of our guys that are training, they all have fights coming up. So I'm like, When you guys tie up, please do me a favor. I said, you get push-ups if you pull guard. I said, the only way you pull guard is if you get taken down. Otherwise, you fight for the takedown. So it makes people more aggressive. So now you either got a good takedown or you don't.
No, you're right. It's just interesting how people tend to. If you're going for the real deal, I mean, there's a time. I'm not saying you shouldn't do guard or develop that. A lot of people love that a lot, and it can be a lot of fun. But I think anytime there's a choice, you need to be going for the top, right? And like you said, the more street or the more competition, why not impose what you can and get into a dominant position as soon as possible and work from there and put them on the defensive.
Well, here's the other thing is if you do not address your back game, then you are going to end up on your back.
Mm.
Another thing is if a person's a better wrestler than you will end up on your back or your side. It's going to happen regardless. Or if you failed, let's say you have a weak core, let's say your core is weak or someone's really good at reversing or bridging or sweeping, you're going to end up on your back. So you do not want to be in uncharted territories. You want to know, like, hey, I've been here 1,000 times. This is nothing new.
Right. No, for sure. Put yourself in every position and dig yourself out, right? Until it's not a weak position for you.
Yeah, that's why we have all the different games that we do. We have tons of different games. I created a DVD a long time ago. It's called Game Development.
Mm-hmm.
It's all based on your worst possible position, floating game, crushing game, game of escape, and then all different scenarios when someone's mounted, side control, north and south, in your guard, and they're camping. They've gone to half guard, flat half guard, side half guard. They're on your back, face up. They're on your back, face down. Starting on your knees, starting from your feet. Someone goes, why would you ever start on your knees? And I go, well, here's why. If you're a school owner and you got new guys, if you start them on your feet, I've had more guys get hurt because they don't know how to break fall. Or they don't know how. You get it with a wrestler that picks you up and slams you, and here this guy's collarbone just popped out. So the intermediate level classes, not the beginner, is where we start on our feet. More so.
Yeah,
more.
That's cool.
But we teach grip breaks, strips, and throws and break falls from day one.
Nice.
That's important.
It is important.
And I think that's overlooked. A lot of people, because they don't do many throws, they don't teach how to break fall and roll and fall. And that's important. That saved my life a couple times because I wiped out on my motorcycle. I hit a curb in the middle of the night, driving through a parking lot. I didn't see it, and I went flying. And as I was in the air, I tucked and I did something called a flat back. No, it was more of a header. Right before I hit my head, I ducked and I landed on my back. But I didn't slap the ground. I just stayed tucked and my navel. And it was funny. I had a backpack on. It had a can of cranberry juice in it, like a big can of cranberry juice. And I got up and my back was wet. And I'm like, oh, I'm bleeding. And I took it out. I smashed the can flat.
Oh, wow.
And you know what? I wasn't hurt at all. I mean, I got up and go, wow, I didn't even
great.
Get
That's
but
great.
from break fall, from judo, from aikido, and from gymnastics.
Nice. That's a great foundation for sure. So we talked about your private sessions, your jiu-jitsu program, your STX, your MMA programs, and then the CSW in general. Any other things going on or changes that have happened in your organization that we need to cover?
Yeah, we have a pretty organized international team from people all over, from Italy, from Spain. I've had guys in Sweden, Germany, and many other countries, England and Scotland, and just all over the place. We've had a ton of different people, and so every year I go and I do a camp to teach to actually rank people, to make sure they know the curriculum that they're supposed to know, and then answer any questions and talk about building your school, teaching kids, because kids are the future. Training kids is a really big deal, and it's a big responsibility.
Mm-hmm.
It's a lot of work, but the payoff is great because once you establish a little kid in your class and they love it, and they love it so much, they bring their whole family and they're going to stick with you for countless years. Then you're going to have them, they're going to be, 20, they're going to be in their 20s and they're already going to be lethal weapons by then because they've been with you for so long.
That's great.
And I know Pat Trey, his kids program, his jiu-jitsu program, he created the kids grappling league, and he's got a girl. By the time she hit 18, she already had close to 500 matches.
Wow.
Jiu-jitsu matches. She had 14 matches in a day.
That's crazy.
Yeah, like what? So he was just saying, I said, you've weaponized your kids. And but if you've ever been to a kids grappling tournament, that's what they're doing today. They're weaponizing these kids.
Sure.
We got these kids doing submission sets that are more advanced than adults, because the kids, remember, their ability to retain knowledge is much more than they were brought in with I think maybe a higher brain capacity.
They're like a sponge.
Yeah, it's true.
Yeah, it's amazing. It's amazing. Anyway, they can get started or get their kids started early. Man, it's such a great thing. Such a great thing. So, Coach Erik, if someone has heard about your organization, your association, your training methods, and have kind of kicked around the idea of kind of going that route or pursuing some training with you, what would you say to them? What's the best thing that you could say about your association or the things you guys are doing to really educate them?
So our association, we offer an online training program, and the online training program has multiple programs in it. The four right now are, again, no-gi grappling, which is also catch wrestling based. We will probably be doing catch wrestling programs more so this year. Also, the jiu-jitsu program is very strong. We have white through brown curriculum, white through brown belt. And then we have the MMA, which is getting completed, the STX kickboxing. And then we have the self-defense. And then some of the other things are the conditioning. Like I just came out with the combat athletics conditioning program, which is about 500. There's about 500 techniques on there. And it's based on gymnastics and body weight exercises. And we worked on that one during the break. So Bob and I sat down and edited that thing, and he put in countless hours, and we were just going through tons and tons of stuff. My gymnastics coach, whose name was Sam, who is a high-level gymnast, and I said, I would like to create a program that has all the conditioning from gymnastics on it. Because if you look at a gymnast, the most conditioned athletes in the world are gymnasts.
They're pretty phenomenal, for sure.
They're flexible, they're strong, got wind, and so I said that would be perfect for martial artists, because I was a gymnast and I knew that I excelled definitely through jiu-jitsu because I was strong and flexible. So that's why I thought, okay, I'm going to add the combat athletics program and make it so it's available to everybody, so they could take, a multitude of 50 different styles of push-ups, 30 styles of dips, 30 different types of pull-ups, all the different types of push-ups and handstand push-ups, and rope climbing and high bar and parallel bars, all the conditioning on each piece of equipment, the pommel horse, the floor routine, the trampoline. We didn't do so much on the vault because most people, I wouldn't suggest doing front handsprings off of a vault when you're by yourself.
Right. These could end badly, right?
But the things that would really enhance are all on that DVD. And, that information is going to be useful for, I mean, if you get it, it's going to be useful the rest of your life as long, because we don't all have weight sets to use. We don't
Right.
all have gym memberships, but it's easy to do push-ups, pull-ups, dips, and Hindu squats in your yard, in your house.
Absolutely.
And like I learned that back when we were first doing the Shooto, which is our warm up was deck of cards warm up, which is from Carl Gotch, and the deck of card warm up had to do with your Hindu squats and your push ups and your V ups or jackknives, and there's all different ways to do it. Jake Shannon has the entire routine, which to me, the routine that we did was you start with a half a deck of cards, and each card represents the number of the 3 to 5 exercises. So 3 exercises to me were enough. We would even do 2 exercises, which were just push-ups and squats. But I said, well, what about the stomach? So we add the jackknife, or it's called the V-up. And so each card would represent a number, and then you'd have to do, let's say you hit a 10, you got to do 10 Hindu squats. And there's an advanced Hindu squat where you bounce. Then you have 10 slider push-ups, and then you have 10 V-ups.
Wow. Sounds like
And
an amazing resource for sure.
just a deck of cards. And it was so funny because my training to get ready for fights for the advanced fighter class, we were required to do the entire deck of cards.
Wow.
And man, I mean, you get super strong.
I bet.
You're doing 100 push-ups or 200 push-ups, 200 squats, or 300 Hindu squats every single training day. You get strong. And I'm like, you know what this reminds me of? And they go, what? I go, gymnastics. Because we had to do 200 dips, 200 pull-ups, and then 200 stomach exercises on top of your workout with all the equipment. And then you had to set up the equipment, and then you had to break the equipment down every day.
Wow.
That's why we're in such great shape.
That's dedication.
Yeah, and I'm like, wow, these guys have no idea. Like, everyone's lifting weights. I go, man, lift your body weight. You should be doing pull-ups and dips every day.
Yeah. Body weight is where it's at.
Yeah.
For sure. So as we're coming to a close, Coach, what personal goals do you have for this coming year? What do you want the next year or this year to look like for you?
I would like to get back to meet up with the guys again, to train. I would like to have a camp this year if it's possible, so everyone could come together and train again. I don't know if the international thing is going to happen where they're allowed to travel to America right now. So we might have to have an American camp and then a European camp separately.
Right.
And those are things we have fighters and competitors competing. They've got fights lined up. They've got matches lined up, and we are in strange, trying times right now with everything the way it's going. I think the next 10 days is going to be very exciting to see what happens. I'm not quite sure what's going to happen, but I think it'll be exciting. And the biggest thing is just you hunker down and again, you get your meditation and your sunlight in every day. Sit out in the sun for whatever, 10, 20 minutes, 30 minutes. And then for me, tightening up our programs so our testing will be a lot easier. And then to really focus on that business aspect for people. And, I'm wondering if the Zoom is the new way to go, or if the physical aspect, we're going to be able to be back in class without masks on. I don't know.
A lot of what ifs, isn't it?
Yeah, but you have to stay optimistic. You can't be a naysayer. You can't be negative because, that breeds negativity. So everything needs to be positive and looking forward to the best. One thing we're tightening our association because we have a ton of guys all over the place. So I have guys that go, "Hey, I'm going to Mexico. Hey, I'm going to Spain. I'm going to England." And I go, "Oh, here's some guys you should go see." "Yeah, I'm going to Texas. Here's some guys." And so we've got affiliates all over the place, which is good. And they do most of the stuff they do, even weapons-based stuff. We're going to do a lot more weapons-based stuff this year. I talked to Bert Richardson about possibly getting together and putting a weapons program address into what we're already doing. I mean, I came from that already under Guru Dan and Asano with the knife and the stick and the machete. Those are the three, and then obviously the gun stuff. But that's more personal. The whole gun thing. If someone wants to learn how to shoot, and here's the problem: is a lot of guys go buy a gun and then they think they automatically know how to use it.
Right.
So you should definitely take courses on that. And same thing with a bow and arrow. Don't go buy a bow and arrow and think that you're an expert at shooting. Or a crossbow, right. Or a slingshot, or even a slingshot.
Any weapon, really, right?
Yeah, but I think the biggest thing this year is again getting in touch more so with the higher power. So that's number one. 2 is your family. 3 is your job, and 4 is your passion, and start combining, and they're a part of your everyday life.
That's great.
And keeping them balanced and keeping everything kind of more connected. Also, the ability to talk. You've got to talk. People being cooped up, they have to learn how to talk more and speak to each other.
Yes.
Communication is a big one. But also your diet. You're eating good food. You're taking your supplements, and you've got good nutrition. That's very important.
Couldn't agree more. I like how you talked about, the balance and having those priorities in life. What goes first, and then in order how they are, but also just integrating all of those into your life. I think that's wonderful.
And then the last, obviously, is the self-defense stuff.
Absolutely.
I teach self-defense in every class a little bit, because the way things are right now, you don't know who's going to be a nut job. If you're going to run into someone, sometimes you're out in public, and I've seen guys act up at the Scottish food chain. Have you ever been in the Scottish food chain and people have acted up?
I have not.
McDonald's?
Well, then yes, I have.
Like, just people going crazy. It's like, you're a martial artist. Your whole objective is to protect, and you do martial arts out of love for yourself, love for your family.
Yes.
And also to protect. And you owe it to society, if you have the ability to be able to defend yourself, and also to fight if someone needs to be possibly controlled. That's your responsibility to hit a good double leg and get to a good position so you can hold them so they can be subdued.
Absolutely.
So the self-defense aspect should definitely be a big part of everyone's, not just the sport aspect.
I think it should be the foundation for everyone's training.
100%.
So if someone wants to know more about you or your organization, your association, your programs, how do they find out more, Coach?
If you want to check out more information, you could go to erikpaulson.com, and we have affiliate schools up on there. We also have all of our different programs that we offer, but it's erikpaulson.com. And there's tons of podcasts, and we have tons of products up there, like T-shirts and DVDs and a bunch of different programs. Like I said, The combat athletics program is the new one. The gi jiu-jitsu, the no-gi. I don't call the no-gi really, I don't call it jiu-jitsu. It's, the no-gi program is our CSW program, which is based on about 5 different grappling arts. But it's actually curriculum. It's levels 1 through 10. Our STX program is levels 1 through 5. And then our MMA program right now is kind of in limbo, but we're working on it right now, and I'm not quite sure how many levels that will be, but there's a ton of information. We're never short of information. That's true.
Yeah, and there's and I'll put a link in the show notes to your site as well, and you also have a number of free videos that people can look at if they just want to kind of test the water and see what it's all about on your site, right?
Yeah, we do. And then we also offer just the people that don't want to be affiliates, but that want to access our library, which is over 4,000 videos up.
Nice.
That's another opportunity for people if they want to just do that aspect and not really worry about getting any rank or testing or anything. That's another option for people. Online University, it's called.
Yes, and that's a great place to check out for anybody interested in kind of finding out more and getting an idea. I know you've got camp videos in there and individual techniques, all kinds of different stuff there. So it's a wealth of information for sure.
Yeah, all of our camps, we've had camps for 20 years. So the camps are all up there. I mean, it's jam-packed loaded with stuff.
It really is. Well, Sensei Erik, I want to say thank you from the bottom of my heart. It's always an honor and a pleasure, and it's so great, interesting to talk to you whenever I have the chance. You're an awesome person, class act, and impacted so many lives. So I really appreciate the opportunity to talk to you very much.
Marty, thank you very much for your time. I appreciate what you're doing. You're doing a huge service to everybody for creating this site.
Thank you, sir.
Podcast.
Thank you. And also thanks to Alan Baker and to your wife, Tanya, and Bob for their for sure.
And also Ben Jones. He runs all our pro fighters.
Absolutely. All right. Well, be well, my friend. Long, healthy, happy life to you, sir.
Thank you, sir. God bless you. Thanks, guys. Happy New Year.
Happy New Year. Take care.
Thank you.
All right. Always a pleasure to have Sensei Erik on the show. Always a very interesting conversation. Very interesting person indeed. All right. Don't forget my book, See You on the Mat, a story of perspective, resilience, and transformation through Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu, is available on Amazon and is now available on Audible as well. All right, up next is the Make a Difference, Make an Impact segment.
I hear the clock ticking. And time waits for no man. Life goes by, and it goes by quick. Don't waste those years. Don't waste them. Live them. I want you to be terrified of sitting on the sidelines and doing nothing. Waking up in 6 days or 6 weeks or 6 years or 60 years and being no closer to your goal. You've made no progress. That is the nightmare. That is what you really need to be afraid of, being stagnant. So, get up and go. That idea isn't going to execute itself. That book isn't going to write itself. Those weights out in the gym, they aren't going to move themselves. You have to do it. And you have to do it now. Don't wait anymore. Don't think anymore. Don't plan anymore. Don't contemplate anymore. Don't make any more excuses or justifications. Don't rationalize anything else. No. Take the risk. Take the gamble. Take the first step. Take action now. No complacency. No backing off. No slack whatsoever.
No more dreaming. Dreaming is over. I need specifics. What are you doing on Monday? What are you doing on Tuesday? What are you doing on Wednesday? You need to be very specific. It's time to put your pieces together of your puzzle. You need to be in a big damn hurry. Time is running out on you. There's 86,400 seconds in a day. The separator between me and you and people that win and lose is what we do with those seconds. And you're too slow. You're too casual. You think too much. You need to get in a hurry because there's an end to your life and it's coming sooner than you think. It goes by in a flicker and at some point it's going to be over.
And we want to make a conscious, deliberate, determined effort to start living life with a sense of urgency and using what we've got, using ourselves up, sharing what we brought into the universe to share. Because if we don't, nobody else will. Stop wasting valuable time. If we begin to live our lives as if each day were our last, our lives will take on a whole new meaning.
When you die, when life is over for you, I don't want you to have one idea left in you. I don't want one dream left in you. When you die, I want you to go for broke. Every CD that you were supposed to do, every book you were supposed to write, I want you to get everything out your system.
We get one shot at this gig right here, life. So do not wait. Go forward. No more waiting for the perfect moment, and no more indecision, and no more lies. Take the action. Get out of bed. Get your feet on the ground. Step forward. Give every day everything you've got. Every ounce of energy, every bead of sweat, every drop of blood until your last breath. And don't let another day slip by.
And that's going to do it for this edition of the show. As always, I thank you for listening. Hope you're enjoying the show. If you feel like you're benefiting from the show and want to show your support, you can support us on our Patreon page and a link in the show notes. Please like and follow us on social media and help us spread the word by reposting our posts and telling others about the show.